Well, some years ago, I heard about some church people who thought it's weird how Kyle talks about God so much. Now listen, I get this too. I understand that because of the way that I am wired and the call of God on my life, that I am not for everybody. But still, the misunderstanding from people that often comes with something like this can be very lonely. So let me say this to you, and this is probably obvious, but some of you need to hear this from someone who understands. The more unique that you are, and we are all unique. Some of us, though, we look and sound and talk and walk a little more unique than others. And some of us have more unusual careers and paths and plans than others, I know. The more unique that you are, the more loneliness is going to be an issue for you. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you won't ever feel it. But I can tell you that the gospel message can help you not be paralyzed by it. It can help you take it and remake it into something that's very rewarding. I've heard people say, "Oh, Kyle, I'd love to have some of the wisdom that you have." And I say, no, you probably don't, because you don't want to have to get it from the places I've had to and still have to. The things I share in my messages and books often come from deep wells, some of them deep wells of loneliness. But because of the gospel, I can survive plunging into those wells at times and come back up with something that's life-giving, not only for me, but for others. Still, I can honestly say that I sit before you today the least lonely that I've ever been, and not because I have more people around me, but because I have deeply accepted the gospel truth. And it'll help you too. Let me show you. I'll start with the most basic gospel truth that helps with loneliness. And this is going to sound cliche, I know, but it's foundational, and I'm going to make more of this than what it sounds, so hang with me here. Here it is. God is in you, and He is your friend. I know some of you want to barf at the sound of that, and not because we're minimizing that God is with us and what a friend we have in Jesus, but because this is about all we've heard from many of the sermons and devotions relating to loneliness over the years. It's like people hear that you're lonely and their pat answers to pat you on the back, send you on your way. All you need is Jesus. He's your friend. And yes, He is your friend. He has nothing but friendly thoughts toward you. Jesus Himself said, "I don't call you slaves, I call you friends." He said, "You didn't choose me, I chose you." And God didn't just choose you to use you like some of the relationships you've had in the past. He chose you to live with you and live in you. That's pretty intimate. You better be a friend for that. I'll be upfront with you. There were seasons in my life where it really felt like it was just Jesus and me. And I'm not saying that I didn't shed a tear or two in those seasons, but I can say that they were seasons. And in hindsight, somehow or another, God was enough. He was my source. I made it through. But here's the thing that knowing that God is with me really helped with when it came to loneliness. It's not that I literally felt His presence with me as if it was like a person in the room with me, because I didn't. But it's that I knew someone was with me that understood me somehow. Look at Hebrews 4:15. The author says, "This high priest of ours," speaking of Jesus, "understands our weaknesses, for He faced all the same testings that we do, yet He did not sin." One of the core tenets of Christianity is that Jesus was fully God, yet fully man. Amazingly, in His fleshly state, He was able to face every weakness and temptation of the human condition and not sin. Now, this is not about some model for us to follow. It's not saying, see, since Jesus didn't sin, in his flesh, so we should try real hard not to sin in our flesh either. No, Jesus was empowered not to sin so that he would fulfill the standard of the law for us because he knew we couldn't, he knew we can't. What this verse goes on to say is that somehow, some way, Jesus knows what it's like to be you and to deal with the things you deal with. We know that he knows what it's like to be hated, to have his words twisted, to be thought too spiritual or not spiritual enough. He knows what it's like to have some kind of calling that others don't understand or are jealous of. He knows what it's like to be hungry and on and on and on. He knows what it's like to be you. Whatever your weakness, whatever your uniqueness, if nobody else gets you, please take comfort in the fact that Jesus gets you, he understands you, and he doesn't doubt you because of it, and he doesn't distrust you because of it. I'd say you and Jesus can bond all the more over your shared experience. Let me ask you, how would your life change if memories of past rejection no longer hurt? What could you do if you weren't afraid of being rejected in the future? Maybe you think it's not possible. I've dealt with this for so long. But I'm here to tell you it is. If you've read any of my books or heard me speak, you know that the pain and fear of rejection ruled my life for so long. But I found real healing and freedom, and you can too. That's why I created my e-course, Rejecting Rejection. In it, I hold your hand to explore the scientific, psychological, and spiritual roots of your fear of rejection. I show you methods to reprogram your brain to be confident and courageous. We go through spiritual insights, reflections, and applications to heal your rejection-related wounds. And there's so much more. So what do you say? Are you ready to be unshackled from the fear of rejection? Then join me now. Visit rejectioncourse.com to get started.